Hi, my name is Magnolia Heaton. I am the owner and founder of Love is Healing LLC, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I just want to say real quick, if you notice that I talk about myself a lot, I feel like it's because I have to. I do actively see clients, and so I have to honor their confidentiality. I can't exactly talk about their stories, so I just talk about mine. And with my family, they know my story. It's not news to anybody. I've talked to them about it, whether or not they accept it. It's on them, but I know they all understand it. Anyhow, okay, today I'm going to talk a little bit about somatic work and the father wound, if I can. I'm expecting a phone call. Hopefully they don't call while I'm recording. I apologize for speaking so quickly today. Somatic work is body work. It doesn't have to just happen when you're in therapy or healing session. Somatic work, to me, essentially means moving emotions and energy through your body. And so, like, even if you go for a walk, you're engaging in somatic work, or a run, or lifting weights, or dancing, anything like that, to me, counts as a somatic work. That said, I had some clarity this morning as a result of doing some running and then being in the sauna. I was thinking about the father wound. I understand it to some degree. I like how some experts explain it, but I always feel like there's stuff missing, and I feel like I hit on something today. So then I was thinking about me. And in my family, I grew up with 6 adult narcissists. 6 adults who were highly narcissistic. And 2 of them were my parents. And so my mom verbally abused the whole family. My dad enabled her, right? And so I was thinking about that today, like, why it can be hard to receive love from males. I mean, I think in general, for me, to a degree, right? Like, I can, and then it's like I hit another level, have to work through it, hit another level. Anyways, I think right now, in particular for men, and I'm wondering why, and I see that it's because, to me, I did receive the messages from my mom and my sisters and society. I don't know if I received them from my dad, but definitely I received them from all these people. My culture, being Mexican, that the man was supposed to provide and be strong and things like that, and protect, I guess, but really be strong, right? Strong and protect. But my dad didn't really. He enabled my mom. I can look at it like mentally and be like, of course, he grew up in a very highly narcissistic family. His mom was an addict. His dad was too. I get it. But, like, the point is, what impacted me was that my dad didn't work on his trauma. Because then that's how he showed up in his parenting. Do I empathize and understand? Yes, to a degree. Do I think he should have worked on his self-awareness? Yes, especially after he received a lot of information. And he did do a lot of, like, self-help stuff. And there were things when I was going through my degree or my postgraduate training or, like, life, where, like, I would share things and be like, oh yeah, hey, there's this thing called the father wound, there's this thing called the mother wound, you could work on this. And then I guess I understand now, I had some clarity. He was so dissociated and so stuck in his freeze response, right? He actively taught me to fawn. I'm grateful for that, because I feel like it led to a lot of people skills, if I'm honest, and I like that. I like being kind to people. I just had to work through that and integrate other stuff, right? Not just polarize to just fawning. But, like, he was so stuck in his freeze response and so dissociated, he couldn't possibly connect to his self, his needs, his emotions. If he did, it would have been way too overwhelming. If it wouldn't be overwhelming, he wouldn't have had to have developed it. It's a lot of haves. In the first place. All those defense mechanisms. And I understand that, and also it's still disappointing, and it's still impacted me in really profound ways, right? I'm gonna post another video soon, but, like, most of the people I dated had really highly narcissistic traits. My current husband is really gentle with me, which is nice. Sometimes. I'm realizing right now that I'm really triggered in regard to the softness, because it reminds me of my dad. So, I'm grateful for this awareness, and now I can work on it. I can see that this is why I developed a masculine wound, because I guess at some point I was like, no one's coming to rescue you. Nobody freaking listens to you. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna ¿cómo se dice? I can't think of the word. Insist. Are you gonna insist on your truth? Keep harping on your truth? Are you gonna stick to your truth and then share it whenever you absolutely feel you need to and pick your battles? Or are you gonna give up? And I was like, no way I'm gonna give up. Hello. Sagittarius rising over here. So I also like Libra everywhere in my chart. No way was I gonna like let some injustices kind of like seep through. Anyhow, yeah, it's challenging because like the more that I think about it, I can see how there's so much energy behind all of that. There's so much density behind all of that. It's not just I guess it's a trigger for me for people not to have accountability, right? If they don't have accountability, you can't get anywhere. And then like, what's the point of talking? Which tends to be why I shut down, because I'm just like, look, I need to conserve my energy. But also like, you legitimately cannot, in a relationship, you can't get anywhere if there's no accountability and openness. Like, so like literally I'm like, what's the point of talking, right? We can't problem solve if you're not willing to help me solve. And if you don't acknowledge that there is in fact a problem, right? And then accountability, that, whatever. And then like a lack of awareness, I would say that's been coming up a lot this week. A lack of awareness is a challenge for me, because if you're not aware that there's a problem, if you're not aware of your contributions to the dynamic, etc., then like we can't go anywhere, because there's nothing for us to work with, right? And in your perspective, like, what would be the point of working on anything if nothing is wrong? And so I just, there's all this density behind that. And so like I understand the father wound from that dynamic. I don't want to talk about it more, but let me see if there's anything else there. I can see, yeah, right. So I can see how I developed the masculine wound, the masculine shield of like needing to take initiative and be assertive and things like that. I like being assertive. There's a difference between being assertive and overly aggressive. At times I was overly aggressive because things were imbalanced, because I wasn't taught any balance, because nobody was taking any action, because there was no problems that existed. So, right, I mean, when I was younger, I definitely did behave overly aggressively. Not mean, just like domineering. And so, yeah, not to mention, I mean, I learned that from my mom, right? Anyway, so these are good things to notice, and I just, if this resonates for you, I invite you to figure out, dissect, maybe figure out how there's parallels in your story. If you happen to be one of my clients, go ahead and ask me how it might relate to you, or bring it up in sessions. And yeah, it's just some food for thought, really. What else can I say? So how do you work through it, right? I think figure out what your emotions are behind all this. Likely there's going to be a lot of grief, a lot of rage, a lot of anger. And to be honest with you, I think that this is kind of the seminal, emotional, vibrational stance for feminism. I think it's because maybe women felt like they weren't protected, so they feel like they needed to protect themselves, but like in an imbalanced way. I used to identify as a feminist for a long time, right? Now I'm just like, I just believe everybody has human rights, and that we should all respect each other, you know, and that no one's better than anyone else. Anyway, so many thoughts in my head. Figure out what your emotions are, right? Maybe I would invite you, honestly, if you're like really serious and you really want to do this, I would say like journal, right? And just like let everything out. Figure out what your emotions are. Grab an emotion wheel. Touch on the more deeper emotions. See if you can touch on like 20 different emotions, you know? And then like, what are the thoughts that are associated with these things, right? If you feel a lot of shame, what does that mean? I'm not lovable. I'm not good enough. I can't take up space. Nobody loves me. No one's ever going to love me. No one's ever going to show up for me. Commonly, those are the ones, right? And then how does that show up in your life? So taking the CBT triangle, so the emotions and the thoughts, and then also the behaviors. How does that show up in your life? As in, I caretake, I am overly domineering, I want to control everything, I isolate myself from other people. Commonly, it'll fall into one of those 3 branches, right? Fight, flight, freeze. Even fun. So like, I guess you could look at it that way too. That would be a different way to be like, okay, cool. How does my behavior in my relationship show up as fight? And then how does it show up as flight? And how does it show up as freeze? And then how does it show up as fun? Then you take inventory, all of that. I mean, I would say pause and even go back and like jot these steps, come back to the video. I don't know. And then you can figure out what you want to shift, if anything. You could look at the different relationships in your life, which ones are amenable to change, right? Why would you want to shift them? And then how would you go about telling them or suggesting or asking like, hey, I noticed this dynamic in our relationship. I would like to shift it because I'm learning that it's not really the healthiest. And I'm wondering how we can come together to find other patterns, maybe work toward them that are mutually agreeable. And then I think look at the ones that just kind of aren't serving anymore, and then dissect those relationships. I know it's always hard to like lose people, but sometimes people do weigh us down, and I promise, like, when we let go of people that no longer serve, especially if it's abusive and things, then we really legitimately do make room for people who are on our level and are seeking what we are seeking. If you are in a place where you're taking inventory in your life and you're taking accountability and you want to show up fully in your relationships and you want to be vulnerable and open and safe and provide a safe space, dude, like, why wouldn't you want to attract other people like that? Because of father wounding. But it's more of a rhetorical question, right? I mean, like, rather than being in the past where people are focused on like gossip or drama or fawning, right? Being fake, wearing masking in relationships. Pay attention. Another invitation for like a journal prompt or something, self-reflection point, would be to look at your points of attraction in your relationships. When I meet with this person, when I talk to them, when I text them, when I see them, what do we focus on? How do we spend our time? Are we focusing on gossiping? Are we exercising? Right? So you can ask, what are we doing when we get together? Who do I get together with? What are we doing when we get together? Why? And then take inventory there and ask, like, in what ways does it serve me and in what ways does it not serve me? Or in what ways does it serve my lower self, maybe? I don't know. My immature, my wounded, my unhealed self. And then in what ways does it support the person that I'm trying to become? And then act accordingly. I feel like there's one more thing. This is how we develop conscious relationships, not only with ourselves but with other people, and then this is how we grow. Yeah, please let me know if these videos help. I feel like they do. I have a lot to say. I feel like a lot of people in my personal and professional life ask me, how do we do these things? And I'm like, there's not enough time to explain. Plus, I have to be like inspired, I guess, in a way, or even triggered to like think about it. It'll take me generally like a week or whatever to like gather patterns and things. But anyhow, please, if this is helpful, let me know. If you have any further questions for clarification, please let me know. Comment down below. Please feel free to like and share and subscribe if you feel this is helpful. For more information, go to levishealingllc.com. And anything else I want to say? I mean, just to know about my language. I work with mostly women and mostly men. And so, like, my language is appropriate for what I'm using. Can you generalize it to other genders? Absolutely. And sexualities, yes. And blended families, totally. Just make it work. I'm not sitting here trying to isolate anybody. I'm speaking to the work that I've done specifically with these kinds of people. If I were to focus, and I'm not going to pretend that I am an expert in other dynamics, because I'm not. Can I generalize? Yeah. But I'm not an expert in those dynamics. Okay, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.